Congratulations, you're a volleyball mom. I don't know if you know what you've gotten yourself into, but if you're new to the world of club volleyball, this video is for you. I've gone through message boards, I've gone through my emails, I've gone through old text messages, and I've summarized the top 5 questions that new volleyball moms ask when they're first starting out. So sit tight. The first question is about tryouts. How on earth do you handle overlapping tryout times? This one mom wrote in and said that she wants to go to one club, her daughter wants to go to one club in the morning, but the next club is about an hour and a half away and the times overlap by 30 minutes. She didn't know what to do, right? Best advice is, the truth about overlapping timelines and club tryouts is that tryouts actually happen before tryout day, much before tryout day. For those of you in the know, you know that the thing to do is to bring your child to that club to pre-tryout clinics or any other position-specific clinics that child wants to, where they want to strengthen their skills, so that the coaches can see your child before tryout day. Tryout day, there can be hundreds of girls that same age. There can be 20 or 30 girls on the court vying for 2 spots on 2 positions on the court. So it's really important that the coaches know your daughter beforehand. They know your child beforehand. You want to attend clinics ahead of time so that these coaches know who they are and they're familiar with their skill level, so that come tryout day, they're really just placing your daughter on the correct team, matching her skill level, versus seeing her and truly evaluating her for the first time. And I'm saying daughter, I know boys play volleyball too. I have a boy who plays volleyball. I don't know why I'm saying daughter. The other thing you need to do is prioritize, right? There's a club that's gonna be your child's top choice. This could be because of proximity to your home. This could be because it's just got a much more competitive team. Maybe they win more tournaments. You want to prioritize. So the first club you go to, or the club you prioritize, or the timing that you prioritize, is the club that your child really wants to go to. Let's say the morning club is the club that they choose, then you go there, you stay for the full tryout, and you go late to the second club. If the second club is the one that they really want to do, then you go to the first club on time. You give them a heads up ahead of time that, hey, we're gonna have to leave early because we've got another tryout. That is totally normal in this field. It's relatively common for your child to go to some sort of pre-clinic or pre-training. It's very common for coaches to sort of evaluate kids before that. So that's how you handle overlapping tryout times. You prioritize, you communicate, you get there beforehand, you make sure that you're in the gym that you really want to join, you make sure you're in that club before tryout day. All right, the second question is X amount of time too far to drive for practice, right? You're the only person that knows the answer to that. I know that's a cop-out. Oh, it depends, but it really does depend. But it depends on a couple of things. Let's say you believe an hour is really far to drive for practice, right? Whether that's including traffic or not is irrelevant. Let's say you think an hour is really too far to drive. There are some things that would push me over the edge to consider what I think is a long drive, which is not an hour, but what I think is a long drive for my kid. And that's a couple of things. Number one, the player's age. Kids who are 16 years old are officially being looked at by college, right? If you have a child who knows they want to play in college, they know that they want to go through with their career and they know they want to make this bigger commitment, they need to be playing on the top level team that they can get playing time on by 16 years old. So if this club or this team that your child is on, let's say your child is 13 years old and they're on a national or regional team, not the top level elite team, then maybe you don't need to be driving an hour. Maybe there's a local club closer to you where your child can get great training and your child can really bolster up their skills and get a good foundation. If your child is 15, 16 years old and they're telling you, I've got this passion, mom, I really, really want to play in college, the best club for them is the club that's going to get them exposure, right? They're going to be going to qualifying tournaments, they're going to be traveling. If that means that club is a little bit of a drive away, then withhold that until 15 or 16 years old. Maybe 15, so they could start getting into the swing of it. And then 16 years old hits and they are all fully into the swing of travel sport and they are ready to roll, right? So the distance doesn't matter so much. It's all of these other factors to take into consideration. How serious is your child about the sport? How far do they want to take the sport? And where is there the best, most competitive team in relation to where you live? I know a family personally that drives an hour and a half in one direction to go to practice. So an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back, that's 3 hours a day, 3 times a week. That is 9 hours spent in the car. But it's actually more than 9 hours because the practices are 2, sometimes 3 hours long. So if you add all of that, this mom spends 12 to 15 hours a week dedicated to transporting her child to and from practice, waiting on the child and bringing them home safely. This child is going into the 17th year. She wants to play in college. She's well on her way. So for them, it makes a lot of sense. So you just have to think through what's good for your family, what's good for your child, and what all cracks out. One thing a lot of families talk about is the benefits of being stuck in a car with a teenager. For better or for worse, sometimes being stuck in a car with a teenager can be not comfortable for either one of you. But there are moments where you get to have really good, strong, and solid conversations with your child that you wouldn't otherwise get to have. It's a moment where you literally have them as a captive audience, where you can ask them about their day once they've had a chance to decompress in the transition from school to the club. After the club, after practice, when they've got all their movement out and they're maybe a little bit tired, maybe they don't want to talk then, but in either case, when else do you have 3 hours or 2 hours or an hour of time dedicated to just you and that child? That is a really rare thing to come by, and many people, especially moms, think of that as a great advantage of those long car rides. So maybe you'll think of it that way as well. The third question that comes up a lot is there any advantage to playing up a year? Again, it depends. Our club always says that play up if you can start, if you can be a strong contributing member of that team. Let's say you have a 13-year-old and her skills are really good. She's coming from a smaller club into a bigger club. Maybe jumping up from 13 to 14 is good for that child. Maybe it's not. It just depends on a lot of things. It's not very common for kids to play up in age at a larger, more competitive club. This typically happens at smaller clubs where maybe the teams aren't as competitive and you just got an exceptional kid with exceptional skill. And in order to keep that kid challenged, they need to be on an older team. But then when you get into bigger clubs or elite level training where you've got much stronger players across the board in the club, then playing up usually is not an option for a kid. So that would be like a 12-year-old playing up to 13, a 16-year-old playing up to 17, just because they can. That's pretty rare, although it does happen. So I think it depends a little bit on the competitiveness level at your club, how competitive are the tournaments your teams are playing in. If you're like a regional or a local team, and your kid wants to play up because it's just a little bit more of a challenge for them, then that may make sense for you. The fourth most common question I've seen this week is very similar to the last one, but this is about the birthday, right? Does your kid play their age or does your kid play their grade? There are some kids who start school early due to having a late birthday. Actually, both of my girls are in this situation. They start school a little bit early because their birthdays fall late. And depending on what state you live in, the rules are slightly different. If they're in private school or public school, the rules may vary. So do you let your kid play their age or do you let your kid play their grade? Here's what I've been told by elite level coaches across the board. The rule of thumb is this: if your child can play their grade on a ones team, that is preferred. This is what I've heard from coaches who've coached in college and who've coached club level at the elite level for years. So I'm just telling you what I've been told. If your child can play up to their grade level mates, even though they may be the youngest on the team, then do that, but only if they can be on a ones team. Now, if you're at a massive club where the top 3 elite teams are really good and there's 7 or 8 elite teams, sure, make a ones or twos team, then great, move forward with your grade mates. If your kid tries out for that elite level team at the level of her grade mates and does not make a top team, then it's better to play a top team, a ones team in your age range. Now, I'm talking about elite club volleyball. I'm not talking about regional or national. I think at those levels, the idea of recruitment is just perceived to be different. And I think the kids who play those levels as 15, 16-year-olds maybe aren't looking to play in college anyway. And in that case, you should just always play your grade. But if your kid is looking to play in college, then playing at their grade level is what's preferred. Okay, this is number 5, but it probably should have been number 1. I just got the fee schedule. I don't know what this volleyball thing is all about. What is this price? How do people afford this? What kind of work are people doing to afford this? This is by far the most common question. And it's a question I probably ask myself every year. So I have my little list down here, and I'm gonna kind of read off some of the ideas that other moms have said that they do to make money. And these are in no particular order, so I'm not necessarily endorsing any of this, right? There are people who live near research institutions, and one of their solutions is to participate in research studies for extra money on the side. Another mom donated plasma at about $100 a week for over a year to make enough extra money so that her kid could play this sport. I'm not recommending you do any of those things, but these are options that people have leveraged to make this sport affordable for their children and for their family. There are obviously all of the gig workers, right? You can become an Amazon Flex driver, you can do Grubhub or Lyft deliveries. There's all of this gig work now that people are doing. If you have a special skill that you know you have, like let's say you're really good at editing videos, let's say you're really good at budgeting and bookkeeping, you could start a small business, low overhead. All you need is a computer, and you probably already have one, and just start talking to people, start talking to small businesses and try to get clients and customers. When I first got my divorce, that's what I did. I actually taught myself bookkeeping. I've always been very good at budgeting and accounting and math. And I used some online software to get certified in bookkeeping. And I had 5 bookkeeping clients that were all small businesses. And I made about an extra $2,000 a month, which covered volleyball plus travel expenses and a little bit of extra other stuff. So there's a lot of things that people do to be able to afford this. Everybody is not rich. Everybody's not just rolling in the dough. So when you first see the price and you get the sticker shock, I want that to motivate you to just step into action. I want it to motivate you to do something about it, not just get scared about it. Because the truth is, you can't think about money as a pie, right? You don't take a slice out of it and then there's less to go around. There's so much money in this world. If you're willing to just be a little bit creative, a little bit resourceful, a little bit eager to find solutions, then I have no doubt that you will find solutions. I have another video about how to secure sponsorships for club dues, so I hope you check that out. It just talks you through all the steps you need to take to secure sponsorships to help pay for volleyball club dues. There are other parents who mentioned that they sort of enforce a policy that their children get summer jobs. And of course, if your child, depending on your state, is 15 or 16 years old, they can get a summer job, they can save their money, and they can contribute to their own club dues. That is a decision that a lot of parents make. Another one is, I'm looking at my notes, is exploit the airline point system and the credit card point systems. Here's what I'll say about that. I have good credit cards. I have a few. And I don't think that there's any amount of points in the world that can help fully, right? At best, you're gonna hope to get maybe 1, possibly 2 trips covered. That is great. That is a load off of your plate. But if you are a person who charges things to credit cards and doesn't pay them off on time, I do not recommend falling into the trap of getting a credit card to exploit the point system and use the reward systems. Because the truth about club volleyball that all of you know if you're already in it is you can be a Marriott member, you can be a Hyatt member, you can be a this, that, or the other member, a Delta member. When it comes down to it, you're gonna pick the flight that's usually the most affordable, and you're gonna stay in the hotel that the team tells you to stay in, because you don't really have that many choices. So the odds of accumulating point after point after point throughout this process to pay for more of the process is slim for most families. Unless someone in the family has a job where they already travel for work and they can accumulate points that way, I wouldn't bank on airline rewards or credit card rewards as a way to make a significant dent in this. It could possibly pay for 1 trip if you're really smart throughout the year and what you're buying. But again, don't let points for a hotel room or points for a flight get you into debt that you're going to be paying for years to come. Another thing that people do, of course, is they just budget to make things more affordable. If you've never sat down and written down all of your expenses and all of your income and looked at the two in black and red right next to each other, I highly encourage you to do that. Chances are there's several $100s at least that you're spending that you really don't need to be spending. And it wouldn't be hard for you to sacrifice or give it up. So I encourage you to sit down and do that. Actually go through your bank statements, go through 2 or 3 months of bank statements, write out everything you've spent money on. Put in a category, eating out at restaurants, put in another category, groceries, put gas, put, necessary expenses like utilities, like mortgage or rent, like car or transportation money. Put all of those things in a bucket and then really look at what you're spending. I guarantee you there's a lot that you can cut out if you're willing to try to look for the money in that way. And then finally, there's fundraising and sponsorships. I have a video about this coming out. It may already be posted by the time you see this. And in this video, I walk you through all the steps you need to take to secure sponsorships to help cover your club dues. I believe that if you're willing to put in the effort, you really never will have to pay club dues again, and you'll be able to help another family out in the process. All right, mamas, let's get to work. I'm Renata, your ATL volleyball mom, and I'll be seeing you around.